They handed her a mop and pointed her toward the latrines. Can you believe it? Not a cockpit with roaring engines, not a sleek desk piled with classified files, no, a grimy toilet. That was the grand assignment for Lieutenant Kelsey Hart, a razor-sharp intelligence officer straight out of Langley's elite training grounds. Did she throw a fit or stomp her boots in protest? Not a chance. She just gripped that mop like it was a weapon, her jaw set, eyes scanning every corner. And when she marched into the command center, hands shaking, voice steady, and dropped that bombshell, "There's a strike coming, and we have 7 minutes," guess who wasn't shocked when the first missile screamed into the flight line? Yep, the woman still clutching that mop like a badge of honor. But wait, before we dive deeper, let me ask you something straight from the heart. Are you ready to join us in spreading gratitude to those unsung heroes who've sacrificed so much without a word? And if you think stories like this, raw, real, and powerful, deserve to live on, hit that subscribe button right now and help us keep them alive. Because what's unfolding here isn't just a story, it's a thunderclap reminder of the quiet legends walking among us, unnoticed until someone dares to look closer. The desert heat slammed into her like a freight train the moment that ramp hit the ground, dry, suffocating, a gritty mix of diesel fumes and swirling dust that stung her eyes. Lieutenant Kelsey Hart stepped onto the crunching gravel of Forward Operating Base Armitage, her orders tucked tight under her arm, the sun blazing down like it was daring her to flinch. Was there a welcoming committee with crisp salutes and a clipboard? Nope. Just the dull hum of generators grinding away and faint shouts echoing off the rugged hills in the distance. One lone figure caught her eye, though, some guy slouched against a Humvee, chewing a toothpick like he was auditioning for a Western flick. His name tag screamed, Creeley, and those major stripes. Oh, they practically smirked at her. This is my big hello. She wondered, squaring her shoulders. She strode up, posture perfect, every inch the officer. Lieutenant Hart reporting for duty, sir, she declared, voice crisp as a salute. He didn't even glance up, just kept scratching away at that pad like she was a ghost. You the intel girl, he mumbled, toothpick bobbing. Yes, sir, she fired back. Intelligence officer, Signal Analysis Division, Langley Top. Yeah, he interrupted, flicking his hand like he was shooing a fly. Then those squinting eyes finally landed on her, sizing her up with a look that said, "You're wasting my time. You want to serve your country? Grab a mop. You're on latrine duty. Report to Sergeant Dinelli." Wait, what? The folder under her arm suddenly felt like a brick. She blinked, just once, stunned. Sir. You deaf, Lieutenant, he snapped, voice cutting like a blade. Prove you're not some desk rat who thinks book smarts equal combat grit. Wanna be useful? Start scrubbing toilets. And that was that, no grand briefing, no high-stakes intel assignment. Just the promise of dirt, silence, and a mop bucket lurking in some forgotten corner of the base, waiting for her like an old friend. Unfreaking believable. The latrine compound was a horror show, rusted metal walls patched together like a bad quilt, torn tarps flapping helplessly on their hooks, and the smell. Oh, it hit her like a sucker punch, a steamy stew of heat-baked waste that could knock out a lesser soul. Did she gag? Did she run? Heck no. She tied her hair back tight, rolled up her sleeves, and dove in, scrubbing away while boots clomped past her, while cocky young grunts snickered too loud, while senior officers breezed by without a second glance. They pegged her as just another pair of hands, a nobody on mop duty. But here's the kicker, they had no clue who they were messing with. Because while she scrubbed, she watched. She listened. Every crunch of gravel underfoot, every late-night convoy rumbling out, every hushed argument drifting from behind the PX tent, she drank it all in like a sponge. Names, faces, routines, she locked them into her brain, piecing together a puzzle no one else even knew existed. This wasn't just grunt work, this was her battlefield. Nights were her secret weapon, she'd linger near the ops trailer, steps slow, eyes sharp. Doors left ajar a second too long, screens flickering with unattended data. She never touched a terminal, no clearance for that anymore, but who needs clearance when you've got a mind like hers? Patterns don't hide from Kelsey Hart. The chatter she intercepted had weird gaps, delays, scrambled signals that screamed trouble. A drone caught a formation way too neat to be chance, and that supply manifest. Oh, don't get her started. One drop landed 2 clicks west, but nobody logged a pickup. What's up with that? She circled that anomaly in her head, over and over. A quiet shift here, a silent repositioning there, the pieces clicked. Even the birds had hushed up, for crying out loud. Something big was brewing, and it was practically vibrating in her gut. Sleep. Forget it. That night, she stayed up, mapping it all out in her mind, every detail, every hunch, until the sun peeked over the horizon. By dawn, she was storming the command tent, a napkin scribbled with a rough map trembling in her grip, her heart pounding with the certainty that no one, no1, would take her seriously. And guess what? She nailed that prediction too. The guards at the tent barely flicked their eyes her way. Intel mop girl, one sneered, smirking. What, got a plumbing emergency to report? I need Major Creeley, she shot back, firm as steel. This base is about to be attacked. They laughed, actually laughed. Shouldn't you be restocking bleach or something? I've got data, she pressed, voice rising. You've got a mop, they fired back, stepping in her path like bouncers at a club. She tried the comms room, text brushed her off like lint. Logistics officer. A lazy shrug. Ops lieutenant. Didn't even look up. She even thought about the chaplain, anyone with ears. But no dice. Seriously? She's got life-saving intel burning a hole in her pocket, and they're treating her like a janitor. That evening, as the sun melted into the sand and the base hummed with tired routine, she slumped onto a crate outside the wrecked tent, mop across her knees, her pulse racing against the crushing weight of what she knew. Am I really alone in this? She wondered, staring at the horizon. Then he showed up, quiet boots crunching gravel, eyes like lasers cutting through the dusk, green fatigues dusted just enough to prove he wasn't above the grit. He didn't speak at first, just studied her like she was a code to crack. You're the one from Langley, he finally said. Yes, sir, she replied, snapping to attention. Come with me. She leapt up, the mop clattering behind her, finally, someone who might listen. He didn't bother with introductions, his uniform did the talking, weathered and authoritative, not some shiny parade costume. Deep wrinkles carved his sun-scorched face, and those eyes. They carried the heavy scars of war zones past. He led her with purpose, no chatter, just motion, past barracks, past towers, to a reinforced trailer by the satellite antenna. Inside, the air was frigid, buzzing with static and glowing screens, drone feeds flickering, a laptop humming next to a radio. He shut the door with a thud. Sit. She sat, heart hammering. Now, tell me what you think you've seen, he ordered, not a question, a command. That was all she needed. She yanked the napkin from her pocket, unfolding it like a treasure map, crude lines sketching the region, a chaotic masterpiece of instinct and logic. To a rookie, it was scribbles, to a battle-hardened vet, it was a ticking clock. She steadied it on the table and let it rip, not frantic, not pleading, just cold, hard facts. Silent gaps in enemy comms, predictable as clockwork. Drone anomalies, formations looping like a dance. That unlogged supply drop, straight out of a Soviet playbook. 3 call signs gone dark in a valley now eerily quiet. Then she locked eyes with him. It's a multi-pronged assault, sir. Mortars and vehicles from the east and south, timed with our rotation, plus a suicide blast at the gate for chaos. I don't know the exact second, but it's close. Silence, 3 agonizing seconds. Then, why the hell didn't anyone else see this? Because they weren't looking, she said, unflinching. Or maybe they didn't want to hear it from a girl with a mop. A grim smirk tugged his lips, half respect, half disbelief. He grabbed the handset. "This is Colonel Garvey. Patch me to CENTCOM, clearance Alpha 917. Now." She held her breath as he turned. "Timing window, how soon?" "If the pattern holds, soon." "Jesus," he muttered, then barked into the phone, "Garvey at Armitage. Initiating Bastion 7. Priority sat recon on Delta and Echo, scramble ray. Enforcements, lock down bunkers, clear the airspace. Do it." The line clicked off, and he looked at her, really looked. "You're not just an analyst." "No, sir. You're the kind they didn't know what to do with." She said nothing. He nodded, turning back to the screens. "They'll hit fast. If you're wrong, I'm toast. If you're right," he didn't finish. He didn't have to. The base sprang to life, no chaos, just eerie precision. Gear checks, bunker seals, mortar teams ready, firewatch doubled. No one told the grunts why, they just moved. She stood by the trailer, mop forgotten, watching it unfold. Creeley strutted past, still blind to her. But she wasn't invisible anymore, she was the only one who'd seen the storm coming. It all kicked off with a whisper of trouble, a faint, crackling pop of static slicing through the radio feed. No ear-splitting screams, no wailing sirens, just that eerie little snap that makes your gut twist. "Can you feel it?" Then, like a sucker punch, the satellite stream dropped dead. Drone feed Delta. Gone, black as night. Two operators sat there, wide-eyed, fumbling with their keys like kids caught off guard, frantically trying to reboot the uplink. But when the third feed flickered and vanished, Colonel Garvey stormed into the comms room, jacket half-zipped, sidearm snug at his hip, his face carved from stone. "Confirm spectrum disruption," he roared, voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Now." And there she was, Lieutenant Kelsey Hart, already in the thick of it, her bloodshot eyes locked on the last flickering feed. She hadn't slept a wink, and it showed, but those eyes. Sharp as a hawk's. A sliver of movement darted across the screen near the east wall, something low, fast, too damn synchronized to be a stray coyote. Her heart slammed against her ribs. This was it, trouble, big time. "There," she shouted, jabbing a finger at the monitor. "Look at that." A junior tech shook his head, squinting like he doubted his own eyes. "Could be a patrol," he mumbled. "Patrols don't slink around like that," she fired back, her voice crackling with urgency. "They're moving in perfect tandem, zoom in, enhance it, do it now." The screen snapped into focus, for heat signatures glowing like ghosts, armed to the teeth, creeping toward the fence with a precision that screamed danger. "Strike team." Garvey's jaw clenched so tight you could hear his teeth grind. "Call it in," he growled, low and lethal. "All units, ready phase red, move." The base didn't explode into chaos, no blaring klaxons, no dazzling floodlights. Instead, a low, bone-rattling hum surged through the air as generators kicked into overdrive, rerouting power while internal alarms clicked on in eerie, silent harmony. Barracks emptied in a heartbeat, boots thundered on gravel, tactical teams swarmed the north and east edges like a tidal wave, and bunker doors slid open with a soft hydraulic whine, slicing through the suffocating desert heat. It was like watching a beast wake up, quiet, deadly, unstoppable. Kelsey strode through the control center like she owned the place, even though her uniform still carried the faint, sharp sting of bleach and ammonia. Can you believe it? She was supposed to be scrubbing latrines, not calling shots in a war zone. But nobody stopped her, not now, not when the stakes were sky high. "They're not opening with mortar fire," she said, her voice steady as steel despite the madness swirling around her. "They're pushing in close first, aiming to breach." "Why?" a sergeant shot back, brow furrowed. "Why not just pound us from a distance?" "Because they're counting on us to freak out," she snapped, her words dripping with fire. "We've been on a predictable rotation for weeks, they think we'll trip over ourselves in a panic. They want to shove that chaos right down our throats before the second wave slams us." "Second wave," he echoed, eyes widening like he'd just seen a ghost. She jerked her chin toward the south screen, her gaze hard as nails. "Just wait for it, you'll see." And then, bam, the first perimeter alarm shrieked like a wounded animal. A split second later, an explosion ripped through the base, sharp, brutal, slamming into the south gate checkpoint like a freight train. Dust erupted into the sky, thick and choking. The radios went wild, "Breach. South entries toast. We've got movement, multiple vehicles, converted pickups, mounted machine guns. I repeat, mounted MGs." Garvey didn't even blink. "Lock down the south sector," he barked. "Force M left, into kill zone Alpha. Deploy the Raven drone, get eyes on that ridge, now." While he dished out orders like a general in a storm, Kelsey stood like a rock in the chaos, her eyes glued to the data stream. "They're timing this to the second," she whispered, almost to herself, her voice trembling with awe. "They've mapped every move we've made." Garvey whipped around, his glare boring into her. "So what's their next play, Hart?" "The flight line," she shot back, her words barely out before, boom, a second explosion tore through the air, louder, closer, shaking the floor beneath their feet. Monitors flickered, the west drone hangar blazed orange on the feed, smoke pouring upward like a dragon's breath. Lights dimmed, backup generators groaned to life, pure chaos. "Get every crew off that tarmac," a tech yelled, panic clawing at his voice. Secondary munitions could blow any second. Someone muttered, "Where's the mop girl now?" Half a jab, half a gasp of wonder. But Kelsey? She was already on it, snatching the headset from the wall, plugging into the ops net like she'd been born with it in her hands. "Flight line to command, this is Hart," she shouted. "Redirect all ground crews to Shelter 2, now. It's the only reinforced bay on that side." "Who the hell is Hart?" a voice crackled back, dripping with confusion. "The one who warned you this was coming." Garvey snarled, yanking the mic from her grip. "Do what she says, move." Seconds ticked by, agonizing, heart-stopping seconds, then a ragged line of personnel bolted across the tarmac, ducking between concrete barriers just as a third rocket smashed into the fuel depot. The shockwave knocked a camera feed offline, static, flames, distant screams filled the void. But no deaths. They'd dodged disaster by a hair. Can you even imagine the rush of that moment? One by one, the sectors checked in, north locked tight, east holding under fire, south stabilized, flight line cleared, west containment underway. The dust began to settle, the attackers either dead or fleeing into the night. Fires still licked at the southern perimeter, medics scrambling under harsh field lights, but out of 843 souls on that base, not one was lost. Not a single one. It was a miracle wrapped in grit and guts. In the command center, as the last reports rolled in, someone finally broke the silence. How the hell did she see it coming? Garvey didn't answer right away. He just stared at Kelsey Hart, standing quiet by the monitors, her hands shaking just a little, her uniform smudged and still stained with cleanser along the cuff. Then, slow and heavy, he said, because she was watching when the rest of us were blind. And this time, no one dared laugh. The desert hush returned, but oh, it was different now. This wasn't peace, it was the heavy, soul-deep silence of survival. Smoke twisted from the west perimeter like dark ribbons against the dawn, the base scarred, scorched concrete, shattered glass, shrapnel biting into walls like angry teeth. But they were alive, all 843 of them, some hobbling, some singed, but breathing. And the woman who pulled it off. She sat alone behind the mess hall, a warm bottle of water clutched in her hand, that beat-up mop leaning against the wall like an old friend. She hadn't changed, hadn't begged for praise, hadn't said a word since the gunfire faded. She just sat there, staring at the settling dust, her mind probably racing a mile a minute. What was she feeling? Relief? Exhaustion? Pride? A young corporal shuffled up, awkward as hell, avoiding her eyes. "Lieutenant Hart, you're needed at the central yard. Command gathering." She blinked, thrown off. "Why?" He swallowed hard, nervous. "Just, you're wanted, sir." The courtyard was a mess of people, not neat rows, just a raw, buzzing crowd of soldiers, mechanics, comms techs, medics, even the overnight guards, all standing there like they'd been yanked out of bed for something big. And they had no clue what was coming. Then the sea of bodies parted, and out stepped Major Creeley, uniform crisp, shave fresh, cap perfect. He strode to the center and cleared his throat, voice booming. "Lieutenant Kelsey Hart was stuck on sanitation duty," he started, "not because she earned it, not because we needed her there, but because I screwed up, my failure of judgment." The crowd froze. You could have heard a whisper in that silence. He pressed on, his words thick with regret. "While we were busy assuming, she was watching. While we leaned on lazy routines, she was piecing together the patterns. And while we wrote her off, she was quietly gearing up to save every damn one of us." He turned, and there she was, Kelsey, still at the crowd's edge, half in shadow, hands behind her back, steady as ever. Creeley walked to her, pulled a velvet box from his pocket, and held it up. "Lieutenant Hart, by order of Forward Command and with Central Intelligence Theater Division's blessing, it's my honor to award you the Bronze Star for meritorious service and defending us all under direct attack." Syndrome Drome, holy cow, what a moment. He flipped open the box, revealing the medal, simple, shining, powerful. No big speech, no cheers, just the wind sighing across the yard. With hands that shook just a bit, he pinned it to her chest, then stepped back. "We owe you more than this," he said, voice soft but firm, "but it's a start." Then, get this, he saluted her, crisp and formal, like she outranked him. And after a stunned heartbeat, the whole courtyard joined in, soldiers snapping to attention, hands rising, a wave of salutes rolling through in pure, reverent silence. Can you picture it? Hundreds honoring her, not for the medal, not for rank, but for seeing what no one else could and acting when no one believed her. And there, beside her, that mop, still crusted with dried water and grit, looked less like a tool and more like a badge of honor, a symbol of grit and glory. She didn't grin, didn't weep, just stood there, holding her breath as the weight of it all sank in. When it was over, no one spoke. They just melted back to their posts, but something had shifted. Wherever she went after that, eyes tracked her, doors swung open, comms flowed freely. That old nickname, the girl with the mop, blew away like dust in the breeze. She wasn't invisible anymore. That night, she slipped back to her tent, set the medal gently on her pillow, and sat beside it, gazing up at the stars. For the first time since landing on that brutal desert strip, she let out a long, shuddering breath, relief crashing over her like a wave. The base scored a full commendation, reinforcements rolled in, upgrades patched the scars. Creeley got reassigned, quiet as a shadow. No one brought up the mop again, but it never left, propped in the ops center corner by the emergency radios, cleaned, upright, untouchable. Superstition? Maybe for some, but others knew the truth. It wasn't about the mop, it was what it meant. The sharpest mind in the room is often the one everyone overlooks, and watching in silence can save more lives than shouting ever could. Kelsey Hart didn't chase the spotlight, she didn't pen reports boasting about her genius. She just went back to work, rolled into the next rotation. But every soul in that yard carried that moment, not the medal, not the words, but the silence when they all realized respect isn't tied to rank, it's forged in clarity, courage, and cool-headed grit. And out there, right now, some unsung hero might be watching, ready to save us all, not with a gun, but with raw truth. Maybe even a mop. If this tale hit you hard, if you think silent legends like Kelsey deserve their due, don't let it fade. Share this video, drop one word in the comments, respect. And if you're still here, you're rare, you listen, you see, you remember. For that, we're damn grateful. Kelsey's story hit me hard. Her quiet resilience in the face of dismissal is truly inspiring. She didn't need recognition to do what was right, she just did it, mop in hand, while everyone slept on her brilliance. It's a gut punch of a reminder that real strength doesn't scream for attention, it acts, even when no one's watching. Society. It loves to box people in, judging worth by titles or shiny uniforms, but Kelsey blew that nonsense apart. She proved heroes can rise from the shadows, from the latrines, for God's sake. We need to stop glazing over the quiet ones, the overlooked, because they might be the sharpest minds in the room, ready to save us all. This shifted something in me. It's a call to see the unseen, to honor the grit in those who don't chase the spotlight. Let's celebrate the silent watchers, they're the ones holding the line. Thank you for sticking with us through this wild ride. If it shook you to your core, if it matters, then hit subscribe, smash that bell, and don't miss a second of this journey. Let's shout out the silent sacrifices that keep us standing, together, louder than ever. Catch you in the next one.